Hey, what's up, guys? Siri Emerald here. I'm assuming this thing is on. Here we go. How are y'all doing? So, I didn't have anything come in. I paid for the mechanical, which is Cable from Deadpool 2. So that'll be coming in shortly, I imagine. And I picked up these guys. And if you remember, or if you know me, I like to get the multiple sizes of characters that have multiple sizes. And I looked at these two pieces. They seem pretty screen accurate, so I bought them. Now, I won't be buying the additional gold-aluminium build-a-figure pieces. So literally, if you want those, dude, I'll throw them in a box to you. You pay for shipping and handling. It's, I guess, his head and a leg. So, I mean, I'll send those out to you if you want. I have no need for them. I will not be building a cold obsidian in 1/12 scale. So I'm assuming that's what this is. And the other thing I'm going to discuss, I decided I'm going to pose Thor Ragnarok in a flying position, because as he goes to encounter Hulk in Thor Ragnarok in the arena, he kind of like flies into him. So I'm going to show you how this works right off the bat. I was telling you about this last week, that every one of these are actually already designed for this piece. So this came, I'm pretty sure this came off of my Deadpool piece. And so it has the 4 squares already cut out. All of these already have the 4 squares on them. All you have to do is just poke a hole through this in order to be able to use this. And this is the longer thread. You have to have a long thread. So a lot of them only have short threads. They won't work. It has to be a longer thread in order to be able to screw in here. Unless you're using like a solid pole, those will work as well. And there's a little screw that you can put in here if you want to secure it even more. The first ones didn't have a screw, if I remember correctly. I think the Vision was the first one that I've seen that had this. I don't think it came with the screw, but all the other ones come with screws. So, in your choices, for instance, like I said, this came from my Deadpool 2. In order to be able to remove this and use the single crotch grabber piece, you have to unscrew the screw in here. So don't just pry it off. You have to unscrew the screw that's in the bottom of it. And the way you access that is through the top. So you kind of almost have to have faith and know that there's a screw in there. And use your Phillips head screwdriver that you would use for doing your Hot Toys assembly, disassembly, and just unscrew the screw that's in there. And then you can pop this out. And then you can use a regular crotch grabber if that's what you're wanting to use for your figure stand. So let's get right to the point of this. And I'm just going to use my knife here. And pretty easy to figure out where the holes are, because it's wherever this is, right? Just pokes right through. Just like that. And you can, you don't even have to open it up more. And I don't know, it's really a square, but 2 ridges of them have these little clippies, and 2 sides do not have the little clippies. Now, I don't know if it matters which way goes which. It's designed to hold it in there, but I don't know. I mean, I don't feel any resistance on either side, so it's not like I feel a little ridge in there. So I don't know if it goes better one way or the other, to tell you the truth. I should have paid more attention when I disassembled it. So when you disassemble it, look first to see whether it goes in this way or this way. It will go in either way, but I imagine one way is probably better than the other. And there you have it. And then we can articulate him into his jumping slash flying pose, just as such. There you go. And like I said, I also use these for the diecast pieces, because forever Hot Toys has always said not to use crotch grabbers for the diecast pieces because they won't support the diecast piece. And then they'll send out a base with a crotch grabber, and it's like, so all these other instruction manuals that I have that you've given me that say not to use them on a diecast piece, they don't mean anything. It's okay to use it with a diecast piece. I have no idea what they're thinking. So there is that. Ian, how you doing, man? I am well, thank you very much. New Thanos does look great, especially the outfit, but the arm skin wrinkles badly when bent. That's the give and take on seamless joints. So, for instance, I'm not a huge Scooby-Doo fan, but when I seen these outfits come out, I decided I wanted to build, Daphne and Velma. So I have Daphne, and she's in a seamless bison, seamless body, and so the only seams she has are in her feet, her ankles, and her wrists and her neck. So all the other seams on here, there's no seams. It's a bison body, right? She doesn't stand on her own well. I have to finagle with her more. And on Velma, because I wanted to short her body, because Velma actually is shorter, I haven't found a bison body specifically that worked for her. So she has seams in her knees. So it's the give and take of it all. You know what I mean? The good with the bad. So in order to have this size figure with Daphne, the only thing I could find was one with seams. So when you pose a seamless bodied figure, you have to take into consideration the way the bends are. And sometimes working the figure, squeezing the elbows, or just putting it just a little more or less of a bend will keep that from becoming noticeable. For instance, on Thor here, because he has a seamless elbow, it would be the same thing. If you bend it too much, especially if you start putting it into a 90 degree, you start getting the creases. And from my understanding on these types of seamless skins, if you leave it creased for too long, it actually will damage and break and crack. So a lot of times on a seamless body, you have to really take that into your posing consideration and determine not to bend it so much that it causes that crease. Same thing with like the Iron Spider, some of the PVC suits. When you start putting them into positions that cause a crease, then you end up damaging the suit later on. So there's different ways that people put on there, from my understanding, to prevent that from happening. So I'm going to as I pose him, I'm going to take into consideration that seamless joint and try not to put any crease in that, which you guys probably already knew that. I watched an unboxing of Hulkbuster 2, and it looks lightweight and rather smooth and clean. Yeah, it's a PVC figure, so it should be lightweight. A lot of people are upset that it's a Power Pose series figure, and all that means is that the articulations are less than a movie masterpiece series. For instance, the Mark 36 Peacekeeper or Peacemaker, I think it's Peacekeeper. The Mark 36 Peacekeeper and the Mark 35 Red Snapper are identical pieces except for the arms. And the articulations on the arms of the Mark 36 are those of the Mark 7 biceps and the Mark 17 forearms. So it has those two additional articulations, which pushes it into the movie masterpiece series, whereas Mark 35 does not have an elbow, so he has one less articulation. That keeps him as a Power Pose series figure. So on the Hulkbuster 2, as you watched the unboxing video, you would have seen that he has waist articulation, but he doesn't have hip and knee articulation. His lower region doesn't move. So, and I don't think his elbows move. So because of his limited articulations, then you have a Power Pose series figure. But because they were making him as a Power Pose series, they decided to make him out of PVC instead of the hard plastic that, for instance, Hulkbuster is made out of, or Igor. My Daphne and Velma have to get figure stands for them. Oh, I work from AA batteries in the back, so that's good. That is good. Mark IV Secret Project arrived this week, and it's a lovely, clean paint job. Really pleased. So now when you say it's a paint job, so somebody manufactured this. They took a Mark IV and painted it to look like the Secret Project instead of actually being one of the original Secret Projects. Did they do a diecast? Is that what they did for you, Ian? Simon, James, Bishop, how you doing, man? Well, welcome, Simon. Good to have you. Thank you. Yeah, well, there you go. 39. That's a heck of a jump right there, man. You're full in on it at that point. When do I stop? Yeah, never. You'll stop. Never. You'll never stop. As long as you have a love for the figures, as long as you are enjoying them, I think, I don't remember whether, I'm almost positive if I remember correctly, the Mark 17 was my first figure. And I love him. I love him. He's a great figure. Mark 24 is an identical figure, just painted differently. Some people will say that that's a repaint, and I disagree. And my definition of a repaint is not a screen scene armor that's being redone, or for instance, like the Mark 7 Stealth and the Mark 7 Sub-Zero or Arctic, I forget which it's called. Those are not screen scene armors. Those truthfully are repaints, and I don't know how they go about being able to release those. I imagine still they have to get Marvel Authority or Paramount or whoever it is that actually holds the copyrights on those suits to be able to do that. But those I consider a repaint. The Mark 24 I do not consider repaint because it's actually a screen accurate suit. And I love that Mark 17. And of course, I had to buy the Mark 24 because I'm like Pokemon. Got to catch them all, man. And I pray that they will make all of the suits. We are missing a dozen or so suits of the House Party Protocol. We used to call them the Iron Legion back in the day. When Iron Man 3 came out, we called that the Iron Legion because, from the comics, there's an Iron Legion. And then when Avengers Age of Ultron come out, he actually has an Iron Legion. And again, same thing. When that figure first came out or was announced, the Hot Toys showed us number 1. They showed us an Iron Legion with the number 1 on them, with the gray coloring. And what did we get released to us? A number 3. We don't get a number 1, a 2, a 4, or a 5. I think we have a number 4 as a busted up bust. We don't get the other pieces. And so then that becomes, the question that you ask yourself, will Hot Toys ever release 1, 2, 4, and 5? Do I just sit there and continue to wait in hopes that one day when they're in need for money of a Marvel figure, because for whatever reason, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is tanked and nobody wants to buy their figures anymore and they can't sell them anymore, and Hot Toys is like, well, we still have the faithful out there that'll buy whatever junk we happen to push out. Let's go ahead and crank out the other 4 Iron Legion. Or do I buy 4 more additional number 3s and either pay someone to repaint them with the number 1 and a 2, etc., or myself try to repaint that? And I'm definitely not the best person on the planet for that choice, I'll tell you that much. I've attempted it on times, and sometimes I'm successful, and sometimes I'm not. If I'm doing it just for myself and I screw it up, I got no one to blame but myself, and I don't have to answer to anybody if I screw it up. Now, if I screw it up for you, well, now I've got to make you happy, and that's going to be a little more difficult. No original secret project. But I waited for the right price to come around. There you go, man. Iron Patriot was on first. That's a nice figure. The Diecast re-releases are killing me. Oh, man. What kills me is when, and they've done it every year, right around Christmas time, all of a sudden they just open the gates. I mean, we're dead right now on figure releases. January and February come around, there's not very many that are popping off, not very many being announced. It's really slow, and thank God, so you can try to pay off some of the money that you may have spent on the figures that came out in December. But in December, man, they just drop it. It's like 20 figures or something that were released in December, and add it up. I mean, the least expensive figure now is what, $240 or something to that effect. And a lot of them, especially the Diecast, are over $300. And if you are collecting, Star Wars or Marvel, something that has a lot of figures, or even DC or Predator, which comes out, if you've got even multiples of those, if you're collecting Marvel and Star Wars, or DC and Predator, or whatever, next thing you know, you got 5 or 6 figures that popped out at $300 a piece. Dude, you just dropped $2,000. And that's when it starts saying, what in the absolute hell am I doing here? So yeah, what a mess. Rick, how you doing, man? Thank you for joining us. Starman James, welcome to the channel. Moki's Show, welcome to the channel. I just got my first Hot Toys figure this week. What'd you get? Wonder Woman comic concept. I have not seen that in person. I like it from the images that I've seen. I'm curious what you think about it. I'm really pleased with it. Moki Show, are those Toys Box Hall of Fame? They are the Toys Box Hall of Armor. These ones are. This is the 3.0, which I'm pleased with. In my opinion, it is a, how would I say this? Good artistic rendition of the Hall of Armor, to what extent we were given the opportunity of seeing it, which is just a real brief glimpse of it in Iron Man 3. Of the Hall of Armor down in the wine cellar. Some people call it the wine cellar because it was actually below the wine cellar in regards to that. Hot Toys released their version of the Hall of Armor, and it's round. And actually the inside round is a lot more accurate when you look at the images to how it works. And I pass on the Hot Toys Hall of Armor because they were made out of styrofoam, and they're charging like $125 for a styrofoam box. And don't tell me that it's going to cost you $125 for a styrofoam box and then send me my figure packaged and shipped in a styrofoam box. So you're telling me it costs $125 for the styrofoam box? If I'm paying $350 for a diecast figure, and $125 of that is because of the styrofoam box, stop putting it in a styrofoam box. I don't need it in a styrofoam box if it costs $125. If it does not cost $125 for a styrofoam box, what the hell are you doing charging $125 for a styrofoam box? You understand what I'm saying? So I passed on the Hot Toys one because I was like, that's ridiculous. Now, it did come with the plastic figure stand, the circular one that you would get with some figures. And again, that also is not $125 for those figure stands. So it was a big rip-off as far as I was concerned. And God bless you guys if you bought it. You know, I'm not saying that you made a stupid decision, because sometimes I look at that and say, God, maybe I should have bought one of those. They have a little LED light and they're neat. But in my opinion, for the Hall of Armor, I wanted to spend that exact same money on this Toys box. Now, I bought them from a company out of Singapore, I think. I don't remember who it was I got them from. I found them online. And the company was really good about it. When they sent them to me, two of them were broken. And I took pictures of them, sent them back, and they mailed me the replacement pieces for them in order to get them. But yeah, I love these. These are the 3.0s. There's like a 1.0, 2.0. I even think a 4.0. And I think the 1.0 looks like the original Hall of Armor. And a couple weeks ago, we put, I think it was the Iron Spider inside one of them to represent the ending of Spider-Man Homecoming, when Tony is presenting the figure or the suit to Peter Parker for the first time. And it looks good in that. So I recommend those. And there are occasions when I'll look at the piece, this Hall of Armor case, and say, you know, I can make a better one myself. Go down to the little PVC company and draw up some plans and have them, you know, cut the acrylic pieces to get off and put it together. And, well, I've never done that. And I've been saying that for like a year and a half to myself. So sometimes it's easier just to drop whatever they are, $110, $120. I don't remember what I paid for them. Than for me, in my opinion, to do all of that. So they're great. I love them. And they light up. They come with these really, well, actually they don't come with them. It requires these really big batteries, and they screw into the back, and you have to assemble it yourself. They light up at the top and the bottom. Now, what I've done, though, is I've taken the round Hot Toys bases that I was talking about that come on the some of the figures, and that's what I put in there. And I actually take the bottom off of those and set them on there. And I've got different plans and things that I'm wanting to do, but that's what I'm using instead of the supplied figure base that comes with it. So I've modified it a little bit as far as that goes. Let's see. The Commander Cody Downs is amazing. Yes. I think it's E. Lee and J.C. Hong have painted it, and it looks really good. Every year, they get better and better and better. I look back at a 2012 head sculpt compared to a 2019 head sculpt. You know, 7 years. Imagine if you were doing your job for 7 years, how much better you would be than the day you first started doing it. And even an artist, they grow and develop over time. They may have been painting, and I imagine they have been, their entire lives. But as you're working in an environment, you learn more things from other people, and something you may have been doing, you see how someone else is doing, and next thing you know, 7 years later, you're like, wow, look at how this is turning out. And what an amazing time to be able to have these to us. And I don't have any idea what it'll look like in 7 years from now. So it's amazing. You look at that little figure, little head sculpt of Cody, and it's like, that's him. No doubt about it. You have a little museum here. There's wax museums. Different cities have these wax museums, and there was a wax museum in the city when I was growing up. And you would go there, you'd see Marilyn Monroe and Elvis Presley, and and all these different actors, and these heads and bodies they make. They're at the Wax Museum. They have artists that make them, and so you could go and get a likeness of Angelina Jolie, you know, or whomever. And now I have them here in 1/6 scale. So that's literally what it is. It's my own personal museum of movie masterpiece series figures and others. It's like I forget the man's name in the Hot Toys video. They interviewed him. He's in charge of Marvel in regards to signing who gets to do the toys and stuff. And they have a term in the industry now, Hot Toys quality. When they talk about a manufacturer that's making figures, for instance, like these Marvel Legends I'm gonna crank open, you know, there's a term now that's been created, Hot Toys quality. You're achieving Hot Toys quality. Now, sometimes, you know, Hot Toys quality doesn't always live up to that term. When you have elbow joints and lights that don't work and suits that are falling apart, but the head sculpts, sheesh, that's what sells the figure. You know, you could literally take any body for the most part, but putting that Hot Toys head on it is the cream of the crop. That's the icing on the cake. That is what makes or breaks the figure. It's all about, when I look at it, do I see Robert Downey Jr.? Do I look at that? Do I see Scarlett Johansson? What do I see when I look at that? And, oh man, Cody's dead on. No doubt about it. I ordered 2 of the Mark 7 diecast figures, and because from what I've noticed looking at that Mark 7 diecast is, if you want to be able to have the case, the pod that comes out of the Stark Tower to become the Mark 7, it appears you have to have a Mark 7 in order to be able to do that. It doesn't look like, to me, that you can use your Mark 7 and the pod from one purchase. So I'm going to have a Mark 7, and I intend to display the pod. So that's going to give me a lot more Mark 7 pieces. So for instance, on my Mark 7 that I have, there's several versions of displaying him. You got the thigh pieces, you got the shoulder pieces, you got the chest pieces, all these different ways that you can display him. And I've got a huge collection of stuff for the Mark 7. And now I'll be adding even more to it with an entire figure that I won't be able to display completely and totally. Marvel only. I'm not sure what you mean, Simon. Okies, yes, definitely. I 3D printed my own, along with perspex for the glass, cheaper by far, and I can mass produce them. You're talking about your Hall of Armor? There you go. That's the way you do it, man. Has your Doctor Strange arrived yet? Well, let me tell you about that. Mine was supposed to ship Friday, but it didn't. I'm like, what? I assume you got it from Sideshow. So, back to the story of, 20 pieces or whatever it was that came through December, and spending all my money and buying a car. And so Hot Toys or Sideshow contacted me and said, hey, your Doctor Strange is ready to ship. You need to pay for it. And I regret to say that I didn't have the money to pay for my Doctor Strange. And so, no, my Doctor Strange is not coming. And I regret to say that. And of course, I don't get my $27 deposit refunded to me either. So I was lost out 27 bucks. So no, I won't be getting the Doctor Strange. So I've had to look at the figure and say, oh, well, I really don't need it because it's really this and that, whatever. Man, I really wish I'd had it. The head sculpt is amazing on it. And it comes with the extra, the bands and the magic ring. And I regret not being able to get it. But, hey, that's life. So that's how that goes. I did not get him. Yo, what up? My YouTube friend, Robert Justifan. Welcome to the channel. Good seeing you, man. Thanks. Where's my Mark 50 release? Oh, man. One of the things I was debating about was the Hall of Armor. And I was thinking, let's just say that the United States government, as they are keeping all the war machines. So you have to ask yourself, if this were real life, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Tony Stark was creating these suits for the government, as they made the Mark One, which was a hammered, which was a Iron Man Mark II that was redesigned through HammerTech into the War Machine using the Mark II as a base. And then, of course, you have the two versions of the Mark II, the Avengers version and the new Avengers version, and the Iron Patriot, which are all really the same suit, just different paint schemes on them. And then you have the Mark III, and then the Mark IV from Captain America Civil War, to Mark IV from Infinity Wars, Mark V from the Endgame. You have to ask yourself, what does the military do with these? Are they shredding them? Does Tony still own the intellectual rights to them, and he requires them to be sent back to them? Are they on display someplace? Are they all available for Rhodey to choose? Maybe he doesn't want to don the Mark IV for whatever reason, and he wants to put on the Iron Patriot, which I think was probably pretty much not very useful. Oh, no, wait a minute. He flew off on that, didn't he? It must be okay. So, does he have them still? Maybe he has them in a Hall of Armor. Maybe the Hall of Armors keep them charged up. Maybe they have arc reactors on them that are needing to be replaced or something. So, I'm debating whether or not to buy the 7-piece of the Hall of Armor to be able to display all of my War Machines. Because right now I have them on their bases on top of my Hall of Armor. And so I have a Mark II that I actually took a Mark III diecast and custom made into a Mark II, and I tried to do that for a customer and it didn't work out, and I ended up having to refund his money. And I'm sorry about that, and I haven't heard from him since him and I went our separate ways on that, and I hope he doesn't harbor any bad feelings, but it just didn't turn out right. So I have a Mark II that I repainted from a Mark III, and then I have the two Mark IIs and then the Iron Patriot, and I've got my Mark I is out there on display, and I got my Mark III right here. And so as the 4 and the 5 come out, I was thinking about putting them in that. The other thing I was thinking about was Tony, same thing. Even in this last movie, Infinity War, Pepper was kind of griefing him a little bit about all the suits, because it became his obsession when he was trying to keep alive. After Marvel Avengers, Tony went through a period he's been haunted by Thanos ever since then. Remember when Bruce came down and told him Thanos was coming? He's like, what was that name again? Because he'd heard that name evidently somehow through the Avengers when he slipped through the hole that was created from the warp in space time that they created. I forget the name of the piece. Anyhow, so that's when he started creating all of these Hall of Armor suits for any type of a situation that he might be in. So that there was never a time where he wasn't able to defend or protect or do something because of that. And so he always has this lingering thought, and it appears he always has this lingering thought in the back of his mind that I need this to protect me and you. And so my opinion, because we've seen it in Spider-Man Homecoming, the Mark 42, which I thought was destroyed. So he's holding on to these pieces. So I was thinking maybe a 7-piece Hall of Armor to show off, because we know he destroyed all of them from 41 down. We know those are all gone. And we've seen the 42 in Spider-Man Homecoming. So 42, 43, 44. Well, you can't put the 44 in there. That's Hulkbuster. So 42, 43, 45, 46, 47. There's suits that you can display in there, 246s. So I'm thinking about also spending money on another 7-piece Hall of Armor for those suits, because I bet you Tony's got them someplace. I bet you he's got 42 on up in storage for whatever reason, because he has a hard time of letting go of something. And I'm sure in the back of his mind he's thinking, one of these days this nano piece isn't going to work, and I'm going to have to bust out the 47, or I'm going to have to bust out the 42, or maybe I'm still using pieces from the 42, or whatever. The guy builds a freaking suit from scrap junk in the cave. You know what I mean? Hot Toys is tops, and NECA, poor man's Hot Toys. Hey, Crazy Toys is the true poor man's Hot Toys. 2 Mark 7 Lucky, don't have that. Did luck out on 3 Spidey tech suits. Oh man, jeez. You talking about the Iron Spider, or are you talking about the Civil War Spider-Man suits? Elpa-chan, how you doing, man? I'm thinking about what I really need in my collection, so I'm thinking I'm selling my Neon Tech Iron Man to buy another figure down the road. And you do that on occasions. You'll say, you might say to yourself that that Neon Tech isn't, you're not, it never connected with you. You know, it's weird to talk about a figure in that manner. You know, when I look at some of these pieces, like the Deadpool pieces, man, I love Deadpool. I love the movie, and I look at these pieces, and I say to myself, "Ooh, I need to buy about three more of them." You know what I mean? What? Where does that even come from? And because I'm digging Deadpool, I'm totally connected with Deadpool. And then I look at like the mask that I sold recently, and if you happen to be watching, thank you for buying him, and I shipped out and you received it. I hope it's well. I never really connected with it. Love the movie The Mask. Love Jim Carrey, an excellent actor. He really brings his characters to life. He's such an animated person in his facial and his actions. He brought the mask to life, but I never connected with the figure. Yondu, I probably could never ever get rid of Yondu. I love Yondu, you know, and you know the Neon Tech is one of those that it's not screen seen. It's a neat armor. It's an additional armor. It's a repaint armor. Yeah, if you want to part with it, that's what happens. And my wife's like, you need to sell some of your figures, and I sold the mask, and that was easy to do. And I can't get rid of any of the others, not because I can't sell them, it's because I can't sell them. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the Lady Death. Man, what a fascinating, amazing piece she is. And I'd wanted the number one, the first release, because there's the Lady Death and there's Lady Death Warriors, and I didn't get the first one when it first came out. Missed it. Totally just shirked off on it. And so I kept looking for a good price on them, kept looking for a good price on them, kept looking for a good price on them. And finally one popped up with a good price. And I bid on it. All right. And I was like, the most I want to spend on it is X. And I'll probably get outbid. And then another one popped up, which was a buy it now for the exact same price that I was wanting to bid on the other one at. And I was like, yeah, I'll probably not get this other one, but I'm going to grab this buy it now. So I did. I bought them both. I ended up winning both of them. So I have two of the original Lady Death, and I've got them both on display. And I could probably sell one, but it's like, one of them sitting on the throne, which is supposed to be the Death's warrior, but I have the warrior standing on the Lady Death base and on the throne. So I have them displayed differently with different pieces on them, or them displaying the different pieces. And I love fights and figures. I love fights and figures. Same thing with the Vampirella. I have the SHCC and the Asian version. The first one that was released was the Asian version. And of course, they literally advertised it as the Asia version, and it has the facial structures and appearances of somebody from Asia. And the big question at that time was, is there going to be a non-Asian version? And that question only came about because they specifically told us it was the Asia version, and nobody knew for fact. So I bought the Asia version, and then of course when the non-Asia version came out, I bought that one too. So I have two Vampirellas, and I'm connected with them. They're totally different. The suits are different. The extra pieces are different, and I love them. So I have two. Can I sell one of them? I could. Can I sell one of them? Oh man, it's hard to get rid of a piece when you really, 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 really love it. Uh, Iron Patriot got changed back. Oh wait, how do you? Wait a minute. Selling my neon. Robert says, how you fight Tony's armor? Get a couple Veritex, maybe some at Arts. I'm not sure what you mean. Rick says Iron Patriot got changed back to War Machine Mark II. Yes, which made me happy. I personally didn't like the Iron Patriot. Yeah, there's actually three suits that are that. I'm sure you guys know that, but I will show them to you. This suit was scratched from the movie. So this is what I call the first Iron Patriot, and there's a comic that was made by Marvel in line with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where Tony presents that to him as the Iron as the the new War Machine as he takes back from him his Mark II. And then the next suit that came out, which we actually seen, is the Iron Patriot. Exact same suit. So this one is canon, meaning that it's part of the official Marvel line because it was in a comic book about the whole thing. So it's not a screen scene armor because it was cut from the story, but it was placed into a comic. This is a screen scene armor, the exact same suit. And then in the next movie, as you know, was this piece. And again, the exact same suit. So this is the argument again about whether or not they're repaints. And I disagree that they are repaints because they're canon. They're part of the official Marvel lineup. So even though they're identical suits in every aspect except for the paint scheme on them, I don't call them a repaint. And obviously the Iron Patriot paint scheme is very clear, the differences on it. These two have very unique differences to them as well, but they're the exact same suit. So and I am glad to have all of these pieces. I love them very much. So these are the Mark IIs, more or less, of the War Machines. And that is them. They come together right now. I am the Walrus. Thinking about getting some more NECAs. They're on top of their game too. GameStop getting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie versions, and Target's getting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon versions. Plus, we're getting animated Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated movie. What? Oh, that sounds awesome. I love, by the way, the Spider-Verse. Oh, and speaking of the new Spider-Man movie, Far From Home, looks like he's got an homage to the Noir Spider-Man. We see like this little black Spider-Man suit in one of the trailers. I hope I didn't ruin that for any of you guys. Sorry if I did. The Lego sets for in-game. Yes, I did see that. So it looks like we're talking spoilers right now. So clog your ears up for a few minutes if you don't want to hear this. Lego did it before also with, I think they were the ones that announced the Mark 50 before anybody else. You would think that these toy manufacturers, and I guarantee you they are, they're under a gag order to keep them from releasing too much information too soon. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you got somebody who doesn't really know that they're saying something or revealing something that they shouldn't be doing. They show, and I was like, what? It appears to be a Hulkbuster-sized War Machine, or even bigger. And I'm not talking about Hulkbuster 2 War Machine. It looks like it's a Hulkbuster 1 War Machine, or even bigger. And it's definitely a War Machine, a Lego version. And I'm like, dude, if that's the case, hey, sign me up. I'm getting that for fact. Oh my goodness. I hope it's just a toy and not in the movie. Because if Hot Toys were in, yeah, no. Because hey, the Lego version. I mean, here's your little Lego guy, and here's his War Machine thing. It's like 3 times the size. Hulkbuster's double size. He's like 24 inches or thereabouts. He's twice the size of a 1/6 scale figure. He's 1/6 scale. There are people that said he's not 1/6 scale. He is 1/6 scale. And this War Machine looks like he's 3 times the size. Oh my God. 36, sheesh. Hey, sign me up though, man. I'm with you. $2,000, no doubt. Let's see. Legos, right? Levi's. Ian says, I like crazy toys. Yeah, got a Bones Mark 41, right? Added lots of spares from other suits, right? Touched up the silver and gold, and it made it a great 41 to 42 transition. Definitely. There you go for 30 pounds. Robert says, is Crazy Toys worth it or garbage? You get what you pay for. They don't charge much. I've got a Hulkbuster. I would like to sell this Hulkbuster. They advertise him as 1/6 scale, and he's really probably 1/7 scale. But he works. I've got him. Where do I have him displayed? He was displayed with my Age of Ultron group, and I put it back in the box. I want to sell him. but I only paid like $40 for them, I think. And how can you sell something that costs $40 and think you're getting ahead of the game? Because I guess you really are. Anytime you turn a profit, even if it's only $1, you're ahead of the game. But compared to $200 or $300 for the Hot Toys Hulkbuster, which is right on target, man, that Crazy Toys looks great. It's still a great sculpted figure. I wonder if sometimes the artists that are cranking these out worked at Hot Toys at one point. They've got the same software that they're using in order regards to sculpt that. This sculpt looked great on it. You can't beat the price, man. But no, they're not articulated in every aspect, or there might not be 100% on. It doesn't have the quality of it. You can't sit there and compare it to a movie scene and say, oh yeah, that's dead on. You're not going to get that, but man, it works well enough. The price is well worth it there in a lot of times. Maybe get an armor 47, maybe, or a power pose. And of course, we always talk about power pose. All power pose means is that it's just less articulated. It doesn't mean a lesser quality of figure. Lego awesome. They're always blabbing. Yeah, I know, right? Hey, if you want to keep a secret, don't share it with Lego, right? Captain Marvel took us. I did not yet, but I am going to see the movie, and I've been working on my Captain Marvel. Sheesh, it takes so much to put one of these videos together, and so I've got a Captain Marvel video, which might offend some people. I hope it doesn't offend you guys. I love you guys, every one of you. I mean, you're like family to me, and I appreciate spending all the time with you. And so I touch on some things on Captain Marvel that some people probably don't want to talk about. But I don't think I go overboard on anything in particular. I think you guys know me well enough. But I pray that see, Captain Marvel's been a struggle with Marvel forever, and they're always re-identifying Captain Marvel, always re-identifying Captain Marvel. And now it appears that Captain Marvel has really been giving us a message in the comics of late. And I don't care to go to a movie and be given a lesson. I don't want to come home and be spanked when I didn't do anything wrong. I don't want my dad or my mom pulling out the belt and taking down my pants and spanking me because they want to teach me something when I really didn't need to be taught that in the first place. And that's what I'm afraid is going to happen with Captain Marvel. I have a feeling I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to walk out of there thinking, oh, I was taught a lesson. I don't need a damn lesson. I want to see a fight. I want to see action. I want to see a story that I give a damn about. I don't want to be taught a lesson. And I'm afraid that that's what's going to happen. And if that's the case, that's going to hurt that movie a lot. Especially if they're wanting to use Captain Marvel as their new frontman, a slang term there, as their new leader of the Avengers. There's going to be a problem if every time I see Captain Marvel, I'm going to be reminded of the lesson that I was taught, that I didn't need to be taught, because I already know what you're trying to tell me. You know what I mean? So that's what kind of worries me. And that's what Captain Marvel is right now. It's a big lesson they're trying to teach us in the comics. And I don't dig that, personally. You're signing up for the Disney streaming service. I didn't even know there was such a thing. With all the MCU shows that are actually canon, not like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm really excited. Spoiler for the Bucky and Falcon team-up show. Really? That's cool. I haven't seen that. I didn't know anything about that. I'll have to look into it. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't know. So, from my understanding, the way the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Marvel television universe work, the television universe exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or actually, the television universe accepts and the Marvel Cinematic Universe resides in it. Okay? So as far as the television universe is concerned, everything that happens in the Marvel Cinematic Universe affects them. But the Marvel Cinematic Universe, from my understanding, doesn't necessarily have to be affected by the Marvel television universe. So that's why we see Agent Phil Coulson and Nick Fury in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but we don't see the characters from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So That may change later, but from my understanding, the way things are, the Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of lets the television universe do what they're doing, and they don't make their decisions based off of what happens on that. But the Marvel Television Universe makes its decisions based off of what's happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I don't know if they're both Earth 19999 or if they're calling the Marvel Television Universe a different Earth. I haven't heard that they are. But the Marvel Cinematic Universe acts wholly and separately from the actions that happen in the Marvel Television Universe. But the Marvel Television Universe acts specifically on actions that have happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm not watching Cap Marvel, tired of the nonsense political talk. I'm with you, Robert. Brie Larson sometimes is the whole thing, man. I don't know. I'm going to go see the movie. I bought the piece. I'm going to get the suit. I'm a Marvel fan, but sometimes, man, I didn't see the last few Star Wars movies because of that. And I love Star Wars. I was raised on Star Wars. I mean, I was in elementary school. I was in sixth grade when the first Star Wars movie came out. That tells you how old I am. So of course, Star Wars has been a huge part of my life forever. And then when they turned on me. I didn't turn on them. They turned on me. So that's my struggle with Star Wars. And I pray that the Marvel universe doesn't do the same thing. You know what I mean? So, Spidey and Endgame, definitely going to be seeing those. Interest in that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Batman movie, wondering if it'll be crap or good. I hope it's good. The comics are great. Rick says, I can agree 100%. I think there is an extent in what should be used in real life compared to fictional worlds. The point is to have an escape from real. Yeah, that's literally, I'm with you 100%. That's the whole thing. Walk into that movie theater and not have to worry about nothing. You know, I want to be Iron Man when I'm in that movie. I want to be Spider-Man, or I want to be their friend. I want to be there with them. I want to be the guy sitting at the computer, like Ned says in Spider-Man: Homecoming. I want to be the guy. I want to be there. I want to experience that. I want to escape reality for those 2 hours. I even want to walk out of there, like in Black Panther. I want to be able to walk out of there still thinking that the world is like that. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to go in there and be reminded of all of that while I'm in there the entire time. Give me a freaking break, man. I don't think I've seen The Last Jedi. So I've seen the first one. What was that one called? Number 7. I've seen number 7. And I've seen Rogue One. I did not see the others. So I don't know which one is which. Shield is canon, just doesn't really mention MCU movie stuff that happens. Actually, so Shield mentions MCU movie stuff that happens. MCU movie stuff doesn't mention Shield stuff that happens. So in Shield, they talk about the Battle of New York because that happened. That was a big thing. The Battle of New York was kind of like how the Marvel Cinematic Universe has dealt with 9/11. And, you know, that was the big thing that Marvel Comics was talking about. When 9/11 happened 20 years ago, that was one of the things that they didn't know where to go when that happened. Such a huge point of history and a huge thing that affected so many people on such a personal level. They didn't know what they were going to do in regards to their comics back 20 years ago when 9/11 happened, because a lot of the Marvel characters live in New York. The DC universe doesn't necessarily exist in our world. The Marvel universe, they pride themselves in existing in New York and Chicago and San Francisco and LA. They are with us. We can relate to them on a one-on-one. You know, in your mind, you could believe that you could see Spider-Man swinging through New York City if you're there. Now, of course, you know, it's all fictional, but I'm just saying they interact in that. And so that was their question, what do we do about 9/11? So they decided to address it head on and react to it and have 9/11 happen. For the most part in the comics. And I'm under the impression that they're not necessarily lessening 9/11 with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but in my opinion, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Battle of New York is kind of like the 9/11 thing. I think that's where they're putting all that together because they always reference the Battle of New York as something that really happened as a big deal. You know, Spider-Man: Homecoming, same thing, Battle of New York. it's a big deal. 9/11 was a big deal and will always be a big deal. And that's to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Battle of New York is their big deal. Let's see. It's weird. Some movies put messages but have great stories. Star Trek 6 was a great movie, but showed two great powers coming at peace. I like that story. It's so funny because Star Trek has done the same thing from the beginning of Star Trek, and I'm talking about Kirk and McCoy, the original series, TOS. Even then, every one of their episodes was a message. Every one of them was a message. You know, they pride themselves on having the first interracial kiss on television. That was a huge deal in the 60s. They talk about race relations now? Dude, if you lived through the 60s, you know what bad race relations are. And Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry was such a visionary. He was constantly pushing a message, but it wasn't being crammed down our throats. You know what I mean? It was enough that it was thought-provoking and made you challenge yourself and gave you an instance to want to change reality. Every episode had something to do with how things were if you really looked at them without it being shoved down your throat. You know, it's like kind of like the example I was given of getting a spanking when you go home compared to just being educated on something. You know, there's a way of teaching your children how to avoid using curse words. You can either spank them every single time they say something bad, slap them in the mouth, make them take money out of their pocket and put it in a swear jar, or you can talk to them and explain to them why it's better to use different choice words because you don't want to offend somebody. There's a way of giving a message to somebody, and then there's a way of giving a message to somebody. And I'm not faulting anybody for their decision on how you might want to do something if you want to raise your kids in that manner. Hey, spare the rod, spoil the child. I'm all about capital punishment when it's necessary. But the same token, I don't think it's always necessary to go the full on thing and have to give me a message so much so that I'm walking out of there thinking, really? That's how you feel about me? That's your opinion of me? You know, when you say that you don't want white dudes to be interviewing you for your movie promos, what are you really saying about me? What did I do to offend you that you're going to make that comment? Come on, really? If I were to say the same thing about somebody else, oh my goodness, I would have just committed one of the harshest sins on the planet. But it's okay for you to say that about me? What? Come on now. Wake up, people. Quit being stupid. Enough already. With Captain Marvel, also Superman and Wonder Woman, is that they progressively overpowered them so that there's really scenarios for them they could show up and win straight away. I think they've always been that way. Superman is Superman. He's virtually indestructible. His weakness is kryptonite, and he requires the sun for his energy. Other than that, Superman's unbeatable. You know. Solo is on Netflix. You should check it out. It's good. Yeah, because I didn't see Solo either. And not because I don't like Han Solo, but because of everything else. You know, I was like, I'm done. Done with Star Wars. So I pay for Netflix, so I might check it out, but I don't want to directly pay for that. So I probably will. Probably will check that out. I haven't seen it. Just don't want to ruin my image of Harrison Ford. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I can respect that Robert is split between a lot of people. Let's see. Rick says Hot Toys teased Bespin Han, but hasn't put it on pre-order yet. Bespin Han. Which one was that? Don't remember that one. In your opinion, was Solo respectful to... I didn't see Solo. 50-50. Noble, what's going on, man? Welcome to the channel. I think it was for the time we're in. If you know what I mean, it's hard to really explain, but I like him just a really young man version. So let's get into this. What time is it? 8 o'clock. I've been with you guys for an hour. So there's two versions of how you could get this. You can buy these separately, which are still available for sale. You can get the Chitauri Commander and the Chitauri Foot Soldier at a discount through Big Bad Toy Store. because you actually pay full price, and then they give you a store credit towards the purchase of anything else in the store, which make them a great deal. Or you can get this piece, which comes with, I believe it's an extra weapon. And so I have both versions. And these are PVC pieces, which is, from my understanding, how the Hulkbuster 2 is. Yeah, they are supposed to be releasing the Outriders, and I really hope that they do the Black Order. You know, we've seen the one figure they claim that they're making specifically. They've teased it to us, but they haven't teased any of the others. So, and they haven't released it on pre-order. But I want all of them. I want to. I don't remember their name. Corvus Glaive and help me out. But I want them all, and definitely an Outrider. I still want the Ultron Sentries, the piece in between the Mark I and the Ultron Prime. I still want those. I don't know why they don't release all those pieces. You know what I mean? So everything here is already the exact same that you get with the so this entire lower piece here is everything that you get in the Foot Soldier or the Commander. So I now have 4 of these one-way road signs and 4 bricks, which is great because especially with Deadpool, he in Deadpool 2 he has cable for his he has cable for his firearms. Can I use that? And Cable's like, no. And he goes, fine, I'll use this brick. So here's a brick that you can give to Deadpool to fight the guys. And here's another little rock, which I use these pieces in my Mark 6 Whiplash 2 War Machine 1 display. One of these days I want to make a little diorama for those pieces. And here's a little brick wall that you have. And then you have the clear plastic rod, which are great. It's what I use in my Toys Box Hall of Armors, and they're perfect for that. And you get the lobster claw without the back brace, which is great when you need to put a piece closer to. For instance, on these guys, they don't have the back brace because there's just not that room there for them. Let me see who this could possibly be. Jeez. Guys, I'm going to have to go. Love you guys. See you later.